Did your parents enjoy work?
I think my dad, he worked long hours and he was pretty exhausted from work most of the time. But I saw him a lot in his workplace. He was a shop owner, typical Indian corner shop. But he was quite a social person, so he really enjoyed meeting with people, speaking with people. And I saw that he was happy in his work in that sense, where he's always socializing in that way. But yeah, he works long hours for little money. My mum, it was just something that she had to do every day, and she found a comfortable job in admin with the NHS. Typing up reports, mental health reports. And before it was more personal, so you'd work with a psychiatrist, and that was the cool thing about that job. But yeah, I think she was just comfortable. She never really thought about anything else.
Did you feel a sense of duty when you got older to go out and get a job? You started working quite young.
Yeah, I had my first job when I was 16, kind of a normal age, the legal age to work. And I saw my brother and my sister also. My brother's 7 years older and my sister's 10 years older, so I had those examples of like working, and I did think it was a duty that I had to do. I mean, when I was a child, I never thought about it. I mean, I was just into drawing and I liked maths and everything, but I never thought about work.
Did you find it easy to get your first job?
Yeah, actually, I found it quite easy. I did get it through an agency, but I was excited. I found it fun because I had my own money to spend and I was free from depending on my parents, so I didn't have to ask for money.
What was the job?
I was working in airport security.
Heathrow?
Yeah, doing night shifts.
Night shifts?
Yeah.
Like during a school week?
No, it was during the holidays I got my first job. And then I started to do Saturday shifts when school started. I still had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew what subjects I liked. I liked music, I liked art, I liked doing sports. And yeah, it was a really difficult time because I had to suddenly choose a road to go down when I had no idea really what I wanted. It was almost sort of forced by school, where you have to, what the subjects that you choose can depend on your future, basically. I tried a few work experiences, like working with mental health and then working in a physio, in the hospital, working with physios.
Why mental health?
It was just like options that we could choose, and that interested me. I don't know why. I just had I wanted to know what it would feel like to care for someone who isn't able to do everyday activities like I do. I have no idea why that I had that spark of interest at that age. But
So I know two things about you, which is that about that time you started doing capoeira and you got into dance and physical things.
yeah.
Or was it earlier than that?
Yeah, when I was 17 I started capoeira.
And you went to study architecture.
Yeah.
And those two things kind of evolved at the same time.
Yeah. So that was at the point where I had to decide on things. And I realised I liked art, I liked making things, and I kind of like maths, solving things. So I just combined them and I was like, okay, I guess architecture does that all. But it wasn't even something I ever thought about. I never thought about architecture before that. I didn't even know what it was really. But I just knew that it combined all of those things, so I'd probably like it. And yeah, I went on to study it, which was it was good in some ways and made me realize other interests that I had.
And you came back from uni and did a foundation course in art.
Yeah.
I was going to say instead, but it seems like part of the same thing. But
It was part of the same thing. I had learned so much. Well, I had learned what I learned from my degree, the things that I liked. I tried to find many pathways. I really found love for environmental architecture and just being in nature and having that change of scenery at university in Sheffield made me find a new love for nature somehow, because in London I never had that. I would always hang out in parks and stuff, but my parents would never take me camping or whatever. And I really liked playing outside.
it seems like the choices that you made were almost trying to undo the work of picking one pathway and just broadening your pathways and like having more and more things that you could do instead of narrowing it down.
Yeah, because from that I found many roads, like to setting up, designing theatre stages. I did some work volunteered with some friends. So I was exploring a lot of things at university, like getting experience with theatre set design, other kinds of things to do with music and capoeira as well. And I was finding ways where I could combine everything. I even did a workshop in India where it was kind of international development work, where we were looking at the places affected by flash floods in Himalayas. And all that kind of stuff really interested me because it had something a little bit more humane about it, something related to the ground that I'm stood on in some way. I don't know. There's something about the need for creativity in my life. So after university, I went to college and I did the art foundation. And during that time, my father died, and it was something incredible that I was going through. I was at home a lot, and it was a very intense course, and I had amazing teachers, and it was almost a way of just like letting out everything into my work. I was super focused, keeping a diary of everything I did in terms of art and inspiration that I was getting. And then after that, I just decided, okay, it's time for me to work. I need to work in what I've done. So I worked in an architecture firm. I think I lasted about 8 months until I found an opportunity online. It was called Change Agents, and they're an agency for environmental work. And I found this, so I got onto this this internship in Mallorca, in Spain, and it was working for a stonemason that was he just kind of blew my mind. He was so skillful in what he does, and he had a whole different way of viewing things, I guess. He really felt like he could change things, and he was trying really hard to keep this traditional art alive, trying to influence and inspire young people, get our hands dirty do manual work. I think I learnt more from him than in 4 years of architecture. He would set us homework that was to watch documentaries about what's going on in the world, what's going on with our food and the environment, and why it's important to keep traditional arts alive, and the knowledge that our ancestors had. So we'd watch one documentary that was quite depressing one night, and then one that was positive the next evening. And that sort of opened up my eyes. And just the way in which he would work in a very cheerful manner. Everything was music to him. And the people I had met, we all had the same funding, so we were spending the same money, and I felt so at one with those people. Like there was nothing, no feeling of
competition.
No feeling of competition. And he was all about taking responsibility for what you're doing.
I remember when you came back from that trip, talking to me about the people that you met as being kind of magical and intuitive, and just connected to everything, and you felt that it all came from having lived their whole life on this one island and having kind of grown with it and knowing their community really well. You were saying that you couldn't make people understand, it was hard to make people understand that you were enjoying your life working at Whole Foods, or just working in a retail job, being around things that you liked and keeping it that simple and just learning about stuff that made you happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surrounded by people, people meaning my family, that are just all about, you need to find a career, you need to find a profession, and that's the way life should be, and you settle with that career. But there's just so much out there to learn, and whatever I could find, as long as I could be around the things that I like, whether it's by volunteering or working for little money, I was happy around those things. I might not be with that for a long time, but yeah, for example, working at Neil's Yard, I really enjoyed learning more about medicinal herbs and being around those people. And even though it was just a retail job, it made me happy. I was smelling great every day, and I had enough money to do the things I liked, like capoeira and dance, whatever I wanted. And those were the most important things to me, to keep moving, to keep doing those things that I like. They're not just a hobby to me, they're part of my life, and there's something that I need to keep me happy. It's about happiness in the end, and yeah, I don't know, I started to lose this image of career after being in the architecture world, and everyone's very career minded, and like you have to follow down these years of experience to get to a good position. And I was almost rejecting all of that in some way, because yeah, there's so much more out there.
Not in any unhappy sense, you're still finding your feet, you're still finding your pathway, and
yeah. I mean, when I look at most of my friends, they end up working a job until their 30s, and they're in the same job, and then they end up having a massive change of life choice. And I've just continued looking for that thing, but still developing and growing in myself. So anything that I can do to improve little things that I would like to improve, just like speaking in front of people, for example. that's something I'd like to improve. So I'll go on a theatre workshop, or I'll try to put myself in situations that make me uncomfortable. And then going to Brazil was a big part of that. It was a big journey for me because I was traveling alone, and I just kind of wanted to go my way intuitively. I just planned the first 2 weeks, and then the rest of it was whatever happened after that. Like, whoever I met, whoever I felt connected with, I'd kind of go with them for a bit, or I'd go off on my own. And it was an amazing experience to also be doing a lot of capoeira, but just being on my own. I spent a lot of time just slowing down so much from my life in London, because I like doing a lot of things, and in London I'm just completely on the run all the time. So it was about slowing down for me and just having more patience. And then after coming back, I just decided I couldn't live in London anymore after realizing how much that pace is unhealthy, and that's when I decided to find something else in Spain or Portugal, somewhere that's closer to my family, where I can continue learning a different language, and I wanted to provide a service for someone. I realized how important it was with the stonemason. He had mastered something that he can give now, and he's been doing that for a long time. And I realized that, I don't know, to also fund my life as well, I need to find something that I can provide a service and also live in a society where I need money, and then also do all the things that I like. So I ended up going down this route of trying to find my way into physiotherapy, because movement is something I also love, and I was very conscious about what I put into my body, how I use my body. So yeah, now I'm nearly qualified to do sports massage, and I can speak very good Spanish, almost, and Portuguese. So the little things like that make me very happy, but they may not necessarily make my family happy, which is a hard thing to deal with, because it's something quite big in my life that just seems like a little fly in their life. I find it hard to explain to people who have, especially people who have just kind of followed the same sort of thing where you need to find your career and you need to be settling down. Sometimes I feel nervous about it, or just uncomfortable about it. Although that's changing now, I kind of I don't care anymore, because I feel really good about the things that I'm doing, and yeah, I think you just have to go with it with patience.
A friend of mine and me were talking a few weeks ago about how it feels like a kind of tragedy that the thing that you decide to do with your life that you hope will be what connects you to other people ends up isolating you or keeping you separate within one group or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really can be true. Yeah. It can also be the opposite of that as well. Like, it can make those people think about something else. I like to keep friends from all walks of life, including at university. I was friends with people that I wouldn't even want to hang around with for too long, but I had fun with them for those moments. You know, they're completely different to me, but there was something that connected us. And yeah, I don't know, I think that's been one of the best things in my life, where I'm connected with those people from different walks of life, from some kind of common grounding. Like capoeira and dance are quite social elements, so you end up meeting all kinds of people. And they can, when I tell them about the things I'm doing, they don't make me feel so bad, really.
Okay.
I don't know what I wanted to say. People try to give me advice, saying, why don't you try and find this thing?
Oh, that's a great question for the whole project. Do people try and give you advice a lot as a young person?
Yeah, in terms of like trying to settle down or like finding my way. Okay, one thing in my family, they're like, okay, you need to settle down and try to find a job and maybe invest in a house, so you can rent that house and then have that property. So it's just like, that's the way my family have gone in that sense. And then friends, I don't know if I guess if they've advised me in something that I don't really want to do, it's kind of gone through one ear
You
and
forget
out the other. I've forgotten it. But I do have mentors in my life, chosen mentors that at the right time they're just there, and they're older than me and they've had experience, and I've seeked out to them for help sometimes when I really don't know what path I should be going down. And those mentors for me have been really important, because I guess maybe they're a bit more sensible in some way. And that's like the part of my mum, maybe like you need to find something to support yourself, because I've always been living on little money, and that isolates me a lot from my friends when I can't spend the same amount they do. Even though I don't really want to be spending that amount, I want to do things that are more participating, where I'm spending time with them, quality time with them, not just going out and having a drink, or I don't know. I'd like to be doing something like drawing with them. And I've found some really nice friendships in that way, where I have found those things. I found friends who I can just go to their house and we'll sing together, or through being that way I have found really special relationships.
How do you feel about talking about this stuff on camera?
Kind of makes me happy to be able to talk about this side of my life, and what I think, because normally it's when I talk about it with friends, it always seems like I'm indecisive. But I am really happy about all the decisions I've made, and in the end it's all helped me in the end develop as a person.
We mentioned the other day that we get kind of bombarded with examples of highly successful, dynamic individuals living in the city, doing loads of cool things and being really good at one job and making loads of money out of it.
Yeah.
There seems to be no limit to what people are expected to do, what's being expected of us.
Yeah, I think that's really true. Like, we're being pushed from a young age to think that we are progressing in some way, that we must progress and be successful and earn money. And the way things are going technologically, it's almost like you're forced into that box. I think there are also lots of young communities that are trying to work against this as well. There's been an uprising in young people more interested in politics and all that kind of things. I think there's a lot of jobs out there now that are just kind of made up jobs that don't do direct services to people. They don't provide that, and that's kind of why I chose to do what I'm doing. If you really took everything out of all the systems that we have in our society out of our community, and you just had the people, the community, what could you really give them?